Hey guys, Oscar and Sonny here with another episode of Parenting on Mission. Hey Sonny, today we're talking about responsibility.
Yes, we are.
You know, that's a very important topic, and it's something that really impacts every aspect of our lives, the topic of responsibility. So, you know, when I think about responsibility, I think about something that is my duty, right? Something that I'm personally accountable for, and something that's within my control. So really, when you look at the definition of responsibility, it's our duty, you're accountable for it, and it's within your control. And as a parent, when I think about responsibility, I think my children check all of those boxes. You know, they're my duty. I'm accountable for them, and they're within my control. What do you think about when you think about responsibility?
When I think about responsibility, I'm thinking about you handling your business.
Oh, okay.
You know, you're doing what you're supposed to do. You know, it's your job to do certain things around the home or for school, for work. And so doing what you're supposed to do when you say you're going to do it, how you say you're going to do it, when you say you're going to do it,
Right.
that has to deal with being responsible.
Yeah.
Because you have a responsibility to others, to yourself, to your family, to your community, to your environment.
Sure. So we as parents, we are responsible for our children. You know, there's no denying that.
That's true.
You know, our children, they are our duty. We are accountable for our children.
Exactly.
And they are within our control. And so we must teach our children this important value of being responsible and understanding that, you know, they're responsible for their actions. They're responsible for their decisions, because even at a small age, you still have consequences and responsibility for your actions. As you grow, those consequences and responsibilities are impacts of your decisions. They also get bigger as well, right?
True.
And so we both have seen people, like adults, and maybe they were not really taught, I guess, to be responsible as a child, because you just don't go from a child to an adult and then learn to be responsible. So, you know, I think, you know, we've all seen adults that are maybe challenged in this area, and it really has some negative impacts on them. So,
Right. And I think that it's important to be responsible and to teach responsibility. I mean, even from a parent, you know, constantly having to say, clean your room, wash your clothes. Did you do your homework? Did you check in with your teacher?
Right.
I mean, teaching responsibility actually is a relief for us as parents.
right.
You know, because that means that we don't have to do all of the checking up, because it's their job to do it.
Their responsibility.
Exactly. It's their responsibility to check up on themselves, because they're responsible to themselves. So I think as a parent, I don't have to say clean your room, go take the clothes out the dryer, take out the dog, feed the dog. You teach responsibility that actually alleviates some of the stress that we may have. And also when you're responsible, you have to think about consequences. If you're not responsible about your grades, then you're going to have bad grades. You know, if you're not responsible and taking care of your chores, then that means you lose privileges at home. And then that carries over. If you're not responsible in your job, you can lose your job. If you're not responsible as far as, you know, in your relationships, those relationships are ended. So I think that's where the importance of that responsibility, that fundamental skill comes into play, because it makes their lives and our lives easier.
Well, we have to teach responsibility.
True.
I mean, our children, you know, sometimes maybe we think our children come here knowing everything.
I think we do.
But
They don't.
we have to literally sit them down and teach them how to be responsible. And one of the biggest ways to teach our children how to be responsible is by us being responsible.
That is true.
You know, setting the example of responsibility. You know, so to learn, our children must actually be given responsibilities. You know, we can't try to shelter our children and just have them live a life of luxury. I mean, you know, it's like sometimes our children become a little bit entitled, right?
Yes, indeed.
And that's not teaching them responsibility. We should give them chores. We should give them, that's one thing about having pets. Like we have Oreo, which is our little pet, and Oreo's over there right now looking at us like we're crazy.
What I got going on today?
But, our children are responsible for getting up at 7 a.m. and taking Oreo out, feeding Oreo, bathing Oreo, different things. Like it's really the value of having the pet for me, at least. I'm not sure about Sonny, is that it really is teaching them responsibility and accountability, or their grades, for example. We have to give our children standards, and our expectation is an A.
Right.
Not maybe the teacher is okay with a C, but the only thing that begins with C in this house is
on your report card is your name.
Your last name, Combs. That's it.
It's the only C that's on your report card.
Their behavior.
Yeah.
The expectation is, because in class you can get an E. I think I got this right. You can get an E, a S, and then a P, right?
No, babe.
They got rid of the
like
P?
30 years ago.
Oh, what they got now?
E-S-N-R-U.
E-N-R-U. The U is, the P used to stand for poor, right? Poor behavior?
Don't tell them poor. They don't tell them poor
Okay.
anymore.
So our expectation is an E.
Exactly.
If what was the other one after an E?
S.
An S. Like, satisfactory is not good. I'll shoot for the E. I mean, a S is going to result in a B or a C. That's not going to get us that A. And then have our children have goals and hold them accountable for those goals. And you know what? Most importantly is that when our children want to make excuses, I didn't get that A, or my teacher, it's her fault or his fault. No, sit our children down and let them.
They put the grades in late.
Yeah, they put the grades in. Well, what about the grades that are already entered? Maybe if they were A, you still have an A average. So we have to, when our children start trying to make excuses or not take accountability for their actions, as parents, that's where we have to say, well, no, what was your role in this?
Yeah.
What did you do?
And I think, and so in order to hold them accountable for their actions, especially for chores and tasks, you have to make sure that it's age appropriate. Is it appropriate for that child's age? For example, the dog with Oreo. We had Oreo, we got Oreo. Well, the baby girl couldn't take Oreo outside at night because it would be too late for her. She was much younger.
Right.
So her responsibility was taking a dog out in the afternoon. So making sure those tasks are appropriate and age appropriate and appropriate for the age of, your child is most important, because then if you set them up for failure,
right, if
it's not appropriate for them to do it, because she's going to be scared to go outside, and don't let a bug fly.
That's not safe.
Yeah, don't let a bug fly near. It was
right.
over.
Oh, it's over. The dog that ran down
the dog is gone. Also setting a good example. It's difficult to hold them responsible for something that you have not shown them how to do or set example in doing.
Right.
What is the standard for cleaning the kitchen? What is the standard for washing the dishes, or whatever task it is you're assigning, that you're showing them how to do it.
Yeah.
Like Oscar said a second ago, they don't come here knowing how to do stuff.
Right.
Go in there and make your bed. Make it military made.
Military style.
But you never showed them. So making sure that we are modeling it for them, as well as making sure it's appropriate.
Well, you mentioned the bed, because really the importance of having your child make a bed in the morning is literally the first thing that they can complete in the morning.
Yeah.
It's the first task, and it's really just getting them to have that discipline, and therefore responsibility comes with that.
Yeah, because it took me a while to understand why we needed to make the bed every morning.
Yeah, I'm just getting back in it and mess it up again.
I'm just being candid.
Well, that's not the point.
But you know, but it is teaching them that, and then teaching them that they're responsible to the household and to the family. You know, and making sure the family is well and taken care of. You have a responsibility to your siblings. I know when our children were growing up, they were responsible for everybody. Just because baby girl was the baby didn't mean that the boys didn't have to listen to her. You know, they were still responsible for her and to her. I remember when our son, that's the oldest son, he would iron their clothes. His younger siblings' clothes, became one of his tasks, was ironing their clothes. But it taught him not just to iron, but to take care of his brother and his sister.
Being responsible for them.
Being responsible for them. So I think that responsibility is just such a great tool to teach our children, especially when they're growing up in a family, because I know no parent feels good when their kids argue or bicker or don't get along or don't like each other. But when you teach them that they're responsible to and for each other, that makes sure that also bonds and makes them close-knit.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. So, Sonny, what about this issue of maybe our children do not reach their full potential, or maybe, you know, the expectation was an A and maybe they made a C or even an F.
Yeah.
What should we do as parents? Because, you know, our kids not going to be perfect all the time, and that's not what we're trying to have them be perfect.
So I think the main thing is for us, you know, we ask those questions. Did you go to tutoring? Did you ask your teacher for help? Did you email your teacher? You know, did you put forth the effort? Did you study? When did you study? How long did you study?
Yeah.
When did you start that assignment? Asking those questions, and then you can assess at that point that you understand. Now, the standard is still the A. But you've done everything. That was your best, and you put forth every effort to get to that point. Then that's fine. That's good. And I think that that's the difference too. You know, I think sometimes we have these high standards for our children, which we should have.
Yeah.
Which
you don't
we should have.
You know, if you set it low, they'll meet the low standard.
Oh, every time. And it'll get lower and lower. But I think that when we have a standard for our children, and then you ask those questions to make sure they put forth the effort, then that's when you know that they've done their best. You know, that's when you know that they've done their best. You holding them accountable for doing their part.
And, you know, even if they don't meet the full potential, we still show them love and give them grace. And let them know, that, you know, like you said, as long as you tried your best, that is the key thing. But even if you tried your best, and maybe your best still wasn't enough, you need to do better.
Right. I think this
work harder.
Grace is always appropriate, but grace does not negate the consequence that comes, because like there are natural consequences and there are consequences that, you know, sometimes we have to provide for them. But I think that when you have it where, okay, if you made that C, the rule is if you have a C, there's no TV. That's the rule in our house.
No TV.
No TV. Yeah. And so you did everything, but the consequences still is not necessarily a consequence. It's the fact that you need more time to study.
Right.
So you don't have time to watch television if you over here with a C.
Yeah, you can say, well, I did my best.
Well, good.
Well, son, you know, sometimes I did my best at work.
Yeah.
And sometimes my boss said, you know, that wasn't good enough. So I needed to go back and readjust and do better. So I still had to take responsibility for my actions, be held accountable, and do better.
Right, but it's just even with our children with the no TV rule. You did your best for that assignment, but that doesn't mean that those other how many other questions that you missed that you don't have time to sit down and study.
Right.
You know, so that's where it comes in. It doesn't take away the consequence.
Well, so Sonia, just kind of in conclusion, right? So when we don't teach our children to be responsible, we're literally crippling our children. We're not helping our children by not giving them responsibility, and then by not holding them accountable, we're not helping them. We're literally crippling our children, and I know none of us as parents are working to do that. So what we need to do is really make sure that they have a good understanding of responsibility and accountability, because it impacts what they can achieve in life. It impacts their relationships, their marriages, their parental relationships in the future, or just their peer-to-peer relationships.
Right.
their overall career, what they can achieve in life. You know, you ask your child what they want to be or how they want to live. No child will say that they want to struggle. They will always tell you that they want this or that. Well, if you want that son or you want that daughter, you have to be responsible. You know, blaming others, you know, they'll get in the habit of blaming others, and we need to, as parents, challenge them when they start blaming others. No, be more introspective. Look at yourself and think about what you could have done differently in this situation. You can never control another person's actions.
Exactly.
But 100% of the time, you can't control your own actions. And then just kind of their future. You know, we want our children to have a good future. Yeah. And we're literally setting them up for a good future when we teach them how to be responsible.
So I want to give a few little parent points, and the main thing is, parents, we encourage you, and because we definitely do. Our children have chores, you know. Teach them to have the responsibility of the home. You know, having chores, make your bed, show them how to make the bed. This is what your bed should be like. You know, give them age-appropriate chores so that they can have responsibility in their homes, and also help them when they get older.
In your home.
In your home.
I don't think
in your home. In your home.
Kids don't have a home yet.
So I encourage you. My word of encouragement this week is definitely to sit down as a family. Come up with the chores that you think that everyone in the family should be able to do, that they're going to be responsible for the week. And then that way, it alleviates some of the pressure off of you, but also letting them know those expectations is going to help them be better, not only children, but better adults.
Well, hey guys, thank you for watching this episode. We ask that you subscribe, like, follow, and share this video. And hey, maybe leave a comment about how what do you think about responsibility and accountability for your children. So Oscar and Sonny here with Parenting on Mission, and remember that parenting is challenging, but it can be easier when it's done on mission. See you next time.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.